Hi there, Richard Fulmer here. Welcome to another Richard's Rock Rambles. So we're going to carry on with our blues rock journey today, and we're going to have a look at one of my favorite blues rock bands that formed out of the ashes of Deep Purple way back in 1976. In fact, the band only formed in 78, but the lead singer, Mr. David Coverdale, had done two solo albums, one just called Whitesnake and one called North Winds. So I'm talking about Whitesnake. So he took the name of one of his solo albums, and that was going to be the name of his band. Numerous lineup changes over the years, but I think for this particular type of rock, the blues rock scene, we're going to concentrate on their early output. So it's from the first album, Trouble, right up to Slide It In. After that, Whitesnake changed quite a bit, and they became a whole different beast. Took on the big hair look, a lot more metallic sounding. Whitesnake was what you had. And to be quite honest, I prefer the early stuff, the blues stuff. That's just my personal choice. They didn't bring out bad albums after that. It just got a bit too hair metalish for my liking. I mean, the 1987 album, or the one just called Whitesnake, did fantastically. I mean, they made a lot of money out of that album, big tours. It's what really broke them in the States. But I think there was just such a lot of that kind of music around at the time that I thought, guys, really, do you have to jump on this bandwagon? But hey, it made the band, so what do I know? So we're going to have a look at the albums that came out from Trouble onwards. And we'll see how we go. So the guys formed in England in 1978, as I said, out of the ashes of Deep Purple. Deep Purple, I think, had finally finished up in 76 with Tommy Bolin. With his drug issues, he passed away, I think, later that year. Ian Gillan had, of course, left the band and done his own thing, and Roger Glover and Richie Blackmore, of course, went on to form Rainbow. So Mr. Coverdale was at a bit of a loose end, and then he released two solo albums, which weren't bad, North Winds and Whitesnake, but Whitesnake would be the band that really got him going again. So the first lineup had Mickey Moody on guitars, great slide guitar player, and he also did a bit of backing vocals as well. The other guitarist would be Bernie Marsden, who was with the band Trapeze. No, he was not. He was not. That was Mulgally, if memory serves. But nevertheless, Bernie Marsden was a really good guitarist. Different to Mickey Moody, he was more of the slide thing. Bernie Marsden was more the fiery lead break kind of guy. Then we had Neil Murray on bass, really great bass player who later on went to play with Black Sabbath. And I think he played with Gary Moore as well on a few things. So, and David Coverdale obviously on vocals, and a guy called Dave Doyle on drums. I think he didn't last very long. It was just for the first album, maybe the second. Pete Solly on keyboards, and halfway through the recording of the first album, Trouble, Pete Solly would of course be replaced by David Coverdale's old buddy from Deep Purple, none other than Mr. John Lord. And that was a really good replacement, I thought, because I mean, obviously with all his experience and his style, John Lord was just the guy to get. So all in all, throughout their career, they've done 13 studio albums. There have been a number of live albums and some great DVDs as well. So let's jump into the first album, simply called Trouble. That great cover there. There were actually two covers to this. This was the alternative cover. That one there. And I think I prefer that one there, the color one. So this is a reissue with some bonus tracks on here. In fact, what they've done on here is they've stuck on the Snake Bite EP, which came out before Trouble, so that was like an introduction to the band. And that had 4 tracks: Come On, Bloody Mary, Steal Away, and Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City. That track would go on to become a favorite, a crowd favorite of the band, and they always got the crowd to sing along with that song in the chorus. I don't think it was actually their song. It was done by a guy called Bobby Bluebland, who was a sort of a soul singer. But they really made that song their own. So what do we have on here? We have Take Me With You, Love to Keep You Warm, Lie Down, I Think I Love You. Day Tripper, that Beatles track. They do a really good version on here. Nighthawk, The Time Is Right for Love. Trouble, the title track. Belgian Tom's Hat Trick. Free Flight, which is a cool sort of jazzy number, very different on this album. But ably done. I think that's an instrumental actually. And Don't Mess With Me. Well, if you can see that, there's a picture of the guys there. See if there's anything inside that's worth showing. These remasters normally have some good photographs and info. Here's a great shot of David Coverdale and Mr. John Lord, the late great John Lord. Such a pity he's not with us anymore. Some great live shots of the band in the early days. I really love the early stuff, especially they did a couple of music videos in the early days, long before MTV. And yeah, you could see how good they were. Some great lyrics as well. So that was Trouble, their first album. Then they did an album called Love Hunter, which would cause quite a bit of controversy, as David Coverdale liked to do, especially with his lyrics. And the album was called Love Hunter. If you look at the cover, you'll see what I'm talking about. That caused quite a bit of a hoo-ha. But nevertheless, music inside was amazing. Long Way From Home, Walking in the Shadow of the Blues. That's one of the best blues rock tracks you're ever going to hear, with some great guitar work from Mickey Moody and from Bernie Marsden. Help Me Through the Day, Medicine Man, You and Me, Mean Business, Love Hunter, the title track with David Coverdale in full voice. His voice in the early days of Whitesnake for me was so great. It had that rich timbre that he has to his voice. And the blues stuff was just so suited to his voice. Later on in Whitesnake, when they changed their whole image and everything, he did a lot more of the sort of screeching stuff, which for me it's not really that great. So that was the title track, Outlaw, Rock and Roll Woman, We Wish You Well, which is a song that they sort of closed their sets with quite a bit back in the day. There's also 4 bonus tracks on here. And let's just have a look inside. That's what the back of the original vinyl looked like. Some more great live shots, story about the band and what they had. Picture of the guys. Bernie Marsden was also a great songwriter in the early days. Some more photographs of Bernie Marsden, and I think that's Neil Murray. There we go. So yeah, that follow-up album Love Hunter did really well for them, I thought, and they were well on their path to rock greatness. And they had a great following in the UK, obviously with a lot of the old Deep Purple fans following David Coverdale, and they did pretty well in Europe as well, and in Japan later on as well. Out of the early albums, my favorite is probably this one here, Ready and Willing. Not the greatest cover in the world, but bland. There's a back shot of the guys. So let's just see if there are any lineup changes here. I think this one featured none other than Mr. Ian Pace on drums. There he is over there. In fact, I think Ian Pace was in the previous one as well. Mickey Moody was still in the band. I don't know if Mel Galley was in the band here. Let's just have a look, see. It's always hard to see in these booklets as to where they put the lineups. But yeah, there's still some great lyrics in here, which is cool. You can sing along to the album. I think Mel Galley was in the band at this stage. John Lord was still there. Mickey Moody. There's some guys, shots of the guys over there. So this was a favorite of mine. Fool for Your Loving, Sweet Talker, that's a great track. Ready and Willing, the title track. That was a great live track as well. Get the crowd involved. David Coverdale shouting out to the audience, "Are you ready and willing?" Carry Your Load, Blind Man, Ain't Gonna Cry No More, that was a great track. Love Man, Black and Blue, and She's a Woman. Excellent album. Well worth checking out. Then we moved on to Come and Get It. And this was also a great album, and I think this did have John Lord was still here, Mickey Moody was still here. In the early days, the guys were quite like a family, but later on things would start to unravel a bit with all the lineup changes. So Bernie Marsden was still here, so it was still Bernie Marsden on the previous one. David Coverdale, John Lord, Neil Murray, Ian Pace, and Mickey Moody. The songs on here, Come and Get It, that's a great up-tempo rocker. Hot Stuff, Don't Break My Heart Again, Lonely Days, Lonely Nights, also a cool track. Some great lyric writing. I mean, okay, some of it was a bit sexist that David Coverdale wrote, but he's that kind of guy. But a lot of the other songs are quite emotive songs as well, and they get the crowd involved. Child of Babylon, that's a great track. Would I Lie to You? Girl. Sorry. Hit and Run, Until the Day I Die. And then this one also has some bonus tracks. Child of Babylon, alternate mix, Till the Day I Die. There's a couple of alternate mixes on here. And there he is in all his glory. Like I said, his voice was so potent in the early days of Whitesnake. And you can see why, along with Glenn Hughes in Deep Purple, why they worked so well, because Glenn Hughes had that higher register, and David Coverdale has this great middle, sort of lower, bluesy voice, which is just such a great fit, I should say. And then the last of the sort of early Whitesnake albums was one called Saints and Sinners. Of course, Mr. Coverdale is not the saint. And there's a picture of the band at the back. So this would have Mel Galley. That's Mel Galley over there, and he was with the band Trapeze. And Mr. Cozy Powell on drums, none other than Cozy Powell. Of course, he went to play with Rainbow, played with Black Sabbath, played with Emerson, Lake, and Powell. So he'd also been around. John Lord was still here, and there was a bassist called Colin Bomber Hodgkinson. And this is a great album, actually. This came out, I think, in the early 80s, 82. And I think they would go on to headline Castle Donington Festival in England, which is now called Download. I think they headlined in 83 and 84. Young Blood, Rough and Ready, Bloody Luxury, Victim of Love, Crying in the Rain, which would get redone later in a later album. I much prefer this version though. Here I Go Again, Love and Affection, Rock and Roll Angels, Dancing Girls, and Saints and Sinners. Excellent album. Great guitar work from Mel Galley, a bit more of a fiery guitarist like Marsden, but a little bit different. And if you can get hold of the live at Donington, I'm not sure if it got an official release, the 83 one. Great concert. Really gets the crowd going. That's the one thing about David Coverdale. His voice may be a bit shot these days, but as frontmen go, he was right up there. I mean, he could really work a crowd, and that's what you want a front guy to do. So yeah, this was a really good album as well. And then probably my favorite this album was a sort of a bridge between the early stuff and what would come later. You could see they were starting to change here, but the songs on here were just so powerful. And that's the album Slide It In. And it's had quite a few anniversary editions. This is the 25th anniversary edition. So the album was released in 84 and this came out in 2009. There's a whole bunch of bonus tracks on here, and there's a DVD video on here as well with some of the music videos. This was the whole MTV era coming in, so you could see things were changing. The hair was getting bigger, clothes were getting brighter. So what do we have on here? Gambler, which is a great moody intro to the album with keyboards. Slide It In, Slow and Easy, Love Ain't No Stranger, Give Me More Time, Standing in the Shadow of the Blues. Oh, what an amazing track. Hungry for Love, All or Nothing, Spit It Out, and Guilty of Love. Then there's some bonus tracks on here, and what they've done is the first part of the album is the New American mix, and from tracks 12 onwards you get the album again, but it's the UK mix. I much prefer the UK mix. So what they had here was the introduction of Cozy Powell was still on here, John Lord, Mickey Moody and Mel Galley, but they would be replaced by John Sykes. And if you can see that, sorry, John Sykes would join the band. I think he had just come from Thin Lizzy. Very different guitarist, a lot more metallic, and yeah, changed his sound quite a bit. But I think he was a great live fit as well. A lot of fast runs on the guitar, very different to the early blues stuff. But this is a kick. This kicks some serious butt, this album. You got to play this loud, and it's great to get the bonus one with the DVD music videos. Really cool. So if we go back to 1978, I think some was taken from 1980, some from 82, 78 and 80. And the Whitesnake live album, Live in the Heart of the City. This is still with Bernie Marsden and Mickey Moody. One of the best live albums you'll ever hear, especially the early stuff. Sweet Talker, Walking in the Shadow of the Blues, Love Hunter, Ready and Willing, Take Me With You. Just a great live album. And some great audience participation as well, which is great to hear. So I'm just going to quickly mention some of the others that came out afterwards. After Slide It In, we had 1987. That's the deluxe edition. All those huge hits. Still of the Night, Gimme All Your Bad Boys, Here I Go Again, the 87 remix. Yeah, don't often reach for this era of Whitesnake, I have to be honest. Much later on, there was an album called Good to Be Bad. Various lineup changes over the years. Reb Beach on guitar, Doug Aldridge on guitar, Tommy Aldridge on drums. They've had all sorts of lineups. David Coverdale, you know, he's the one, obviously the one guy who's always there, and he just chops and changes as he sees fit. And Forevermore, that's a later album. There has been a more recent one, which I don't own, and that also did fairly well, but yeah, just doesn't grab me like the early stuff does. Sorry, I have a very dry throat this morning. Then many years ago, I was lucky enough to pick up a really cool book at a shop somewhere in Rondebosch in Cape Town, I think. Whitesnake, I don't think this is in print anymore. This was on Omnibus Press edition. They released some great stuff back in the day. It's a great. Only thing I don't like about this book is it's all in black and white photographs. But it's quite cool reading about the guys in the early days and all the shenanigans they got up to, and the tours and the different personalities within the band, which is, you know, in any band, it's like a family. You have your ups and your downs. Very cool book, actually. Then, this came out much later. I think this was in 2006. A really great DVD, Whitesnake Live in the Still of the Night. And they do play a lot of the old stuff on, the old tracks on here. Love Ain't No Stranger, Ready and Willing, Crying in the Rain, Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City. They have to play that with a crowd participation. And they also do some Deep Purple, Burn. Here I Go Again is on here. Really nice concert. And I think at this stage, David Coverdale's voice was still pretty good. He's lost a bit of his power in his voice of late. I think I need coffee, actually. So they're still touring. Well, obviously not now with COVID. But I think at some stage soon he's going to have to decide to either tone down the voice, because he's still doing that screeching stuff which doesn't really grab me. You know, I just wish he'd go back to a proper blues rock album. And I'm sure then his voice will be able to handle it a lot better than this sort of screeching, metallic sort of stuff that they're trying to do. Not to say that it's badly played. I mean, they've got great musos within the band. But if your main focus of the band is your singer, and he's not at the top of his game, yeah, the cracks start to appear. So there we go, a bit of Whitesnake for you. One of the great British blues rock bands. So guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe down below. Any comments are welcome, good or bad, hey, whatever. I've got broad shoulders, I can take it. Have yourselves a good week. Take it easy out there. We're heading into winter over here, so it's getting a little chilly in the mornings and in the evenings. But hey, there's always good rock music to keep you warm. I'll see you guys soon when we can have a look at another bit of blues rock. Probably going to look at a solo artist who also doesn't get enough credit still, and or has been going for a long time, and that'll be Mr. Frank Marino. I will see you guys next time. Ciao.